Yeah, we'll just charge it in between games. It should be enough for the first. So if we put it on charge now, and then grab it when we want it, and then decide. I'll find out who.
I just got a jump too.
Well, good morning everybody and welcome to the David Ross Sports Village here in Nottingham because it's National Cup final weekend. I cannot, there you go. I'm going to be joined by the action with Jack Oliphant with us. Jack, how are you? It's good to see your face again.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. It's been heads. There we go. We're right close to the action, as you can tell. Yeah, it should be awesome. We got loads of different games coming up over the course of today. We've obviously got finals tomorrow as well for the seniors. There's school action going on to our court over there, which is live on YouTube as well, so it's not commentated on, but if you've got people that you're tuning in, maybe you're looking for the schools finals, court 2 is the stream you want to be looking at for that, and potentially even court 3. Yeah, so much handball going on this weekend. It's a great culmination to a fantastic season.
Yeah, there is a lot of handball. 4 games today on court 1 taking place. First up is the male under-16 Chelsea taking on Guildford Sabres. In fact, we've got Chelsea just behind us in orange now, and another ball's come over. Right, Jack, for those tuning into handball for the first time, where have you been, by the way? But for those tuning in, how does it work? How long is a game? Tell us.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there's, first of all, it's an extremely fast, physical game. It's right up there with rugby, football, probably a bit more physical than football, probably slightly less aggressive than rugby. But it's essentially, for these guys today, it's 2 25-minute halves, so a 50-minute game. For the under-19s and the seniors, it'll be 2 30-minute halves, so 60 minutes in total. You're allowed 3 steps, you're allowed to dribble with the ball, you're allowed 3 seconds to hold on to it, and with the dribbling, you're allowed to take 3 steps, catch it, take 3 steps, do dribble, and then take 3 more steps. So you can really move the ball very quickly. It's almost like a 5-a-side sort of court that you got going on here, 5-a-side football court. You've got a 6-metre goalkeeper's area, 9-metre dotted lines. Attackers are not allowed in the goalkeeper's area, neither are defenders really. But you'll see plenty of tackles. It's got to be chest on chest, it's got to be physical. And these guys, honestly, when you see the ball speed, the speed of play that these guys will be operating in, it'll be very impressive indeed.
And lots of goals, perhaps.
Yes.
Very important. 2 25-minute halves, as we said, and normally 30 minutes for the seniors, isn't it? And for the under-19s later. So up first, we've got the male under-16s, then we go straight to the female under-16s. Then this afternoon, we've got the male under-19 final and the female under-19 final as well. All 4 games live. Who is going to be your champion? Stay tuned and find out. But yes, lots of action, lots of goals, Jack.
Yeah.
How many are we expecting roughly? It's difficult to say, isn't it? But
It is.
there's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at a high-quality game, you can't really look at the goals scored because it could potentially be a high-quality defensive game, in which case maybe you're only seeing 40 goals scored in a 60-minute game. But when we like it to be a little bit more spicy, a little bit more exciting, we're probably looking at over 30 goals each for each team in a 60-minute game. So roughly a goal a minute. Obviously in a 50-minute game, that's going to be slightly less. But equally, we're sort of looking for those sort of high-scoring activities. Defence is very hard in handball. There's lots of fast breaks, transitional play as well. You can score 3 goals in 2 minutes if you just fast break on people. And that's why if you have a 3-goal lead in a game of handball, say it's 10-7 at half time, that's nothing. It can be eradicated in a snap of a fingers. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys sort of change their game plans, mix it up, go fast, then control the game, see who can actually outwit the other opponent.
It's quite remarkable how we've never ever been hit by a ball stood this close to the court, isn't it? How do you think these players are feeling right now? We've got Chelsea just behind us, as you can see. It's the under-16 male final going on. What an arena for them to come and play. How do you think they're feeling now? A few nerves out there?
Yeah, probably a little bit nervous. I think this is obviously Chelsea playing in orange. Guildford are playing in blue, which is confusing to see Chelsea not playing in blue.
You would,
you would have said I did anyway. But yes, I think as a player, it's always a little bit difficult to turn up to these occasions and not feel nervous. Obviously, there's a little bit of a crowd, maybe not as big as what we were expecting later on for the under-19s. You got the schools playing over there. They'll filter in and watch some of the high-quality games. And all of a sudden, I think during the warm-up, I always found that the nerves weren't that bad. As soon as you step out onto court, the names get read out and you're actually there and you've got to perform. All of a sudden I got very nervous. Some people said it was the opposite way around and they felt at home as soon as the whistle goes, but I always felt it ramped up. So we'll see how they cope with it.
I can get that actually, because what's going to happen is they're going to head off into that corner. It'll go quiet and then it'll all come out onto the court and have the names read out. And, for a sort of under-16, that's got to be quite daunting, hasn't it? But we're going to see the measure of these players.
Exactly, and you've got to go through these experiences to reach the very top. And the very top is where these players, particularly from these 2 clubs, are aiming for, and they hope that they'll represent themselves in the under-19s, GB, England, Scotland, wherever they're sort of coming from. So they need to experience these sort of gauntlets and try and actually rise to the occasion. And I think I've got a little bit of a tip from Bill Bailey, who'll be joining me in the commentary box,
where we go,
about who potentially is players to keep an eye on. And that's actually, we should probably mention the fact that we got Bill here today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Bill, a wealth of experience in handball. He's going to join you on commentary. He knows pretty much almost everything, doesn't he?
He's known everything about handball since I've started playing, and I'm pretty sure his knowledge is only gained. So yeah, I'm looking forward to him. He's heavily involved with the under-19s women's. Yeah. Under-19 women's GB team. Sorry, someone's chucking chairs over to our right hand side. And therefore, he's sort of much more involved with the youth side of handball than potentially we've seen, because obviously me and you, we've just covered the senior level for quite a long time this season. But the junior levels, we don't know many of these players. We don't know how they style of play. We don't know maybe the quality that we're expecting to see today. Whereas Bill has an encyclopedic knowledge of all of that.
He does, but this is the future of handball right in front of your very eyes. Jack, you better get yourself off to the comms box. Thank you so much for that. You pop that down, head over there. Right, so coming up very shortly, the hoot has just gone. The players are going to make their way off a last chat with coaches before heading off into the corner. It's the male under-16 final coming up first. Chelsea against Guildford Sabres. It does promise to be an absolute cracker. Remember these names, because they are the future of handball. Maybe they'll be going to the Olympics themselves one day to represent GB or their nations. It's going to be an absolute cracker. I'm going to hand over to your commentary team of Jack Oliphant and Bill Bailey to take you through the first half, and I will see you at the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to begin with the M16 final, Chelsea versus Guildford Sabres. Welcome to the court, ladies and gentlemen, Chelsea. And welcome to the court, ladies and gentlemen, your opponents, Guildford Sabres. The PE teachers at the school, and so they've done a terrific job. It's been nice to see them develop since 2012, to be honest.
I was going to say, if they've been the PE teachers, does that mean they sort of came from PE, or is this literally like a bit of a school team and turned into a club?
Well, when I spoke with him before, it's a school team that did evolve into a club, but apparently the senior section are going their own way next year, and they will start 2 new clubs. So he's moving to another school, but they will have Guildford, they will have another school in the area, and they'll both focus on the junior development.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's a nice little bit of background, and we do have some information of the Guildford Sabres players as well. So when they score, which inevitably will, a lot of them will, we'll be able to get a little bit more information. As all the staff have been read out, the players have been giving their waves to the crowd. It's about that time that we start getting ready for the first final of the EHA National Cup. Here it's Guildford Sabres versus Chelsea. Bill, do you have any idea what kind of play styles we're expecting? What kind of result maybe we're looking at as well?
I think looking at both teams, I think Guildford Sabres look, they've got a lot of speed in the team. You know, I know that they do play a 5-1 defence. And also Chelsea, interestingly, said that they'll probably start with a 5-1 defence. So it'll be interesting to see how this front defender acts. Often in junior handball, they get a little bit lost, and it ends up 6 against 5 a lot. So it'll be really interesting to see how well drilled they are at this system.
I was going to say the difference between a 5-1 and a 5-0-1 doesn't sound that much, but actually it can be quite drastic tactically. And as you said about that player getting lost, it'll be interesting to see whether the 5-0-1, they just mark a player out the game completely, or whether they're just that aggressive on the centre.
Yeah, I think watching the two of them warm up, they seem to be playing it a little bit like what they kind of call Indian, where they roam around trying to pursue the ball, which is great if they can turn the ball over, but if the team knows how to exploit it, it can leave big holes in the middle.
Exactly, yeah, and I suppose if you train against it every single day, you probably have an idea of how to counter that sort of defence as well. So both teams, I'm hoping, will be high scoring, that's for sure. So as Guildford Sabres get us underway, it is 2 25-minute halves here for the under-16s, and it'll be exactly the same for the under-16 females later on. A little bit of a forced pass to the line there, and Chelsea get an opportunity to get up the court quickly, but it's actually turned back around for a double dribble, I think that was. Guildford Sabres get another bite at the cherry. Our screen, unfortunately, in front of us with the replays and everything like that has gone down, so unfortunately we won't be able to sort of enlist the replay or describe the replays for you, but we'll be trying to do the live game for you regardless. Having a look at the Chelsea team, it is that sort of 5-1 setup, and a couple of years ago England Handball actually put in a rule bill, didn't they, saying that you've always got to play a two-tier defence system, haven't you, in the junior setups. And oh, there we go, our screen has come back, which is very useful indeed. And I think that sort of it's an attempt to try and develop the players a little more one-on-one situations, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, they can play 3-3, 5-1, 3-2-1, any of those systems there. They just kind of steer them away from playing a 6-0, which can be a negative defence.
Yeah.
But no, in modern handball, that's also quite aggressive now.
I was going to say the 6-0, it's seen as a bit barbaric, but actually if you play it correctly it can be very aggressive indeed. But the thing is, you don't really develop players one-on-one defensive technique, do you? It's sort of more of a collective, so they get stuck when they actually go to different defences. Neither team having scored, a couple of the balls turned over, a couple of technical errors here at the moment, and just having a look at seeing how they line up as well. Number 35, I've been told by yourself actually, Bill, for Chelsea, a player to be looking out for, Antonio Azpileta. And he's actually operating on the left wing by the looks of it, so they'll be looking to try and maybe move the ball out. Not like that. Another unforced error here.
I think nerves are playing a big part here.
I was going to say, this is it, isn't it? We're so used to potentially operating with the senior categories, but I remember being an under-16 playing in a final and everything like that. The nerves do get to you. As soon as the starting whistle goes, you sort of almost forget what you're supposed to be doing. But that's a good goal starting from the right wing, coming into that second line almost. Good, strong goal. I think it was by the 77 for Guildford Sabres, Jack Baisden. So number 3 trying to get it up. Here we come. Chelsea trying to get through, but David Markowski going for the left back, almost trying to force away. That's quite an interesting thing, though, isn't it? With their defending the 5-1, the Guildford Sabres, and instantly Chelsea noted the attack behind that defender, don't they? They attack behind the point defender.
Yeah, they recognise the space behind him because he's pushing up, but often he's pushed beyond the ball, and there's a chance for the left back and the right back to get space behind that front defender. As
Paletta steps up to take the penalty that he would himself, he ends up hitting the post, and well, that's not the way he was hoping to start the game. He didn't quite get the shot away on the left wing, got the penalty, but it wasn't good enough finish to actually score the goal. As Sabres now recover the ball. There's a lot of chasing. That's going to be an extremely tiring job from the point defender there. I think it's number 32 for Chelsea, Bruno Arredondo. Exhausting job, pretty thankless as well if you can't get the ball turned over and get on the fast breaks. But I think we see from Manchester Hawks, Bill, as well in the senior categories, the 5-1 defence can almost be as much of an aggressive move as it can be as a defensive move. Yeah.
I mean, no, to be honest, Chelsea are playing it quite well. Their front player is moving well and he's protecting that middle part of the defence and forcing the Guildford team to play a little bit wider.
Forced shot there by a frustrated-looking Aris Paletta. Markowski trying to go for that wing as well. Almost trying to do a little bit too much potentially, and that's another thing with inexperience, isn't it? A player who maybe feels like they can score a lot of goals, trying to force it because they just want to take the game by the scruff of the neck, but actually they still need to operate within the game plan.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the key players, they know that their strengths here, and Guildford will have information on these Chelsea players, and they seem to be concentrating their efforts defensively on 35 and 40.
They do indeed, yeah. As we said before, I think they've both played each other quite a few times this season. in the sort of southern divisions for the under-16s. I think both of them actually finished first and second. I think Guildford Sabres ended up finishing top and Chelsea finishing second in their leagues. So, as I said, plenty of close competition between them. Good little interception there. That's going to be double dribble, though. Has slightly ruined it, unfortunately, for the Guildford Sabres. Number 26, Zach Doran, who's operating on that point play. And I'd say just as aggressive as each other, these two defences at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's causing a lot of trouble, the Guildford front player. I mean, he's unpredictable, so they're a little bit stuck on where they should attack, when they should pass. So he's doing a good job, actually.
Running around an awful lot, though, isn't he? I mean, he's gone from centre to right back, then all the way straight to left back. And as the players sort of driving behind him, he sort of stood there in no man's land almost. So maybe a discipline, if the Chelsea team can sort of see that, the discipline can maybe get to them.
Yeah, and I think, he could burn his energy up, but they've got a big bench, so maybe the idea is that he'll run around like that and then they'll replace him. Time will tell.
They have bought an absolute army of players at Guildford Sabres. They're not worrying about people getting tired at all. They've filled out the team sheet, which is something that's slightly unusual from teams in England, to be honest. Normally you're operating a bit more like Chelsea. Not bare, but certainly not full of running. Great goal there, charging through from left back position. The number 11 or 71, actually, I think that is Alfie Scanlon. Their third goal of the game for Guildford Sabres. Did I just see a shot flash by the post there, Bill?
No, it was a good save by the goalkeeper right in the top corner.
Yeah, lovely to see. And well, Guildford certainly commanding this one at the moment. Chelsea don't seem to have many answers from very early stages, 6 minutes in. Can you see something what's the difference at the moment, I suppose? Is it technical errors? Is it nerves? Is it sort of a game plan? What's the difference? Yeah,
I think the game's still got to settle down, but Guildford seem to have the confidence, and I think if they do get a few more goals in front, we could see Chelsea collapse here, because already there's inquest going on among them in the defence.
There is indeed, as Guildford now back on the attack as the charge through from the 11. Which of course is, 71, Alfie Scanlon. That 7 definitely looks like a 1. There we go. So maybe a left back is a potential threat that Chelsea need to scupper out. But a great goal by the 77 on the right wing, Jack Baisden. That's his second of the game. First one he came in from the right wing into sort of a semi-line position. This one, a bit more of an out-and-out wing goal, isn't it? But a very lethal weapon, it seems, on the right. Yeah,
he was pointed out to me by the coach before the game as probably one of the star players. So it's nice to see him get on the score sheet, and the only left-hander that Guildford have, even in such a large squad.
Yeah, it's they're rare gold to come by, aren't they? A competent left-hander. They are gold dust, aren't they? But it looks like that Chelsea have got a second penalty of the game, and they're trusting Oris Paletta to step up, and he finally gets it into the back of the net. Chelsea are on the scoreboard, 7 minutes and 18 seconds in. It's taking them, but it make it a 4-1 game. Guildford were never going to keep a clean sheet. If you are new to handball, clean sheets just do not exist today, Bill.
No, they don't, and much to the disappointment of new players when they come in and they go. It's a special character, as you know, Jack, that will play in goal for any team.
Yeah, no, you do definitely have to be one of a kind to go in goal, shall we say. I've never once wanted to. I've had to go in training a couple of times, and to be honest, I ended up just walking out the goal. It's not worth getting injured for. The players who just throw themselves in the way, as I said, one of a kind. Good defence there by the goal scorer for Chelsea. Trying to convert up the court now. A little bit scrappy, but they move it out to the left wing. That's definitely where they're aiming for. Good spin. That's going to be another foul. Not going to be a penalty this time. If you got the shot away, you never know. Could have got that.
I think if he'd have took the shot, he might have got the penalty.
Yeah, it's sort of fouled in the act of shooting is one of the sort of terms that you see batted about in handball, don't you, to get a penalty. But the fact that he wasn't shooting and the defender wasn't in the area, he just gets a free throw. I warned everyone at the start of this stream with Ian that it's a physical game, isn't it, Bill? You see lots of tackling, even at the early age groups here, and these guys seem to have, even though you're not allowed to do it, I don't think, in the under-13s or anything, in the under-16s, you're introduced to it, and these guys proving that it's very, very physical game.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the technique defensively is quite good. There's not a lot of bad fouls at the moment. Footwork's really important, and I'm quite impressed with Guildford's footwork in defence. That allows them to be able to make the contact without, approaching them, tackling them from the side or behind, which is always dangerous.
Well, that's it. When we're looking for a tackle, obviously the ball doesn't get turned over. I always liken it to rugby league. You make the tackle just to stop them scoring more than getting the ball back. Great transition at the court. I'll get back to my defence in a minute because that was a great goal. And I think in the end it was scored by the point player, Zach Doran, who's operating on the 5-1 and as a line player. But a good transition, the first real one of quality we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got an advantage, the front player, because he's so high up the court anyway.
See a goal, I think, just about squeezed in off about all 3 posts. I think it was a 32, so the point player this time, Bruno Arredondo, getting the goal for Chelsea. Ball's turned over yet again, and I'm just marking down some goals. So, Bill, why don't you have a look at what's going on, and potentially they've changed around Chelsea a little bit as well. They moved a few players out and about, maybe trying to get their winger back involved a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they've brought on a number 3 in at left back now. I think try and see if he can make a difference. Number 40 switched over to right back, and I think they're just trying to find the best way for them to tackle this defence.
Now, indeed, though, the Guildford Sabres defence does just go to sleep for the time being, and the 23 for Chelsea goes through and scores. That's Lukian Mileski. So great goal by him, but ultimately taking advantage of some sloppy defending, maybe the line player confusing them just a touch. And that is one of the most crucial parts of being a line attacker, isn't it? You've got to be able to not only catch the ball, manage to turn and spin, but you've got to distract the defenders and open up space. Yeah,
you're always going to be, no matter what you're doing, whether you decide to shoot, pass or whatever, you're always be doing it under contact, so there's a lot of pressure in that position.
There is indeed, yeah. If you are wondering, if you're tuning in, maybe watching some friends or family or something like that for today, and you're wondering what the positions are, does everybody attack, everybody defends? Well, if you've been watching the last 11 minutes, you'll have figured out that everybody does attack and everybody does defend. But Handball has played with 7 players out on court. Good save by the 82 for Guildford Sabres. Sonny Holland with an important stop there. But you have 2 wingers, a centre player, 2 half-backs that operate halfway between the wing and the centre, which is always a nice, easy way of remembering it. And, of course, the line player, which is the most unique position in handball, I would say, isn't it? Most people can get their heads around the others, but it's the line player that's a bit of a different one. Yeah, I think it was like a position that people didn't really value, but in modern handball now, it's crucial to have a good pivot player, that either has strength or has really good movement. Yeah. And you can see, I mean, the Guildford front player is not that well, he's not that well built, but he has a lot of good movement, and he's causing problems for what looks now like a 3-2-1 that Chelsea are trying to play. Yeah, they're trying to turn the ball over, aren't they? Maybe play with a bit more transition, a bit quicker at the court. That's exactly what they're here to do now. Again, it sort of breaks down. They need someone to take control of this attack, and that's exactly what the Gabriel Zingerano has just done. He's operating at right back now. He's at left back. He's been at centre, basically anywhere in the back court. He's quite happy to play, clearly, and in fact they've actually moved Avis Paletta over to the left back to try and get him in the game a little bit more, but again, just a little bit forced from the player. Yeah, they seem to be changing positions a lot. I think they're still trying to find out what system's going to work for them against Guildford's defence. But, again, there's a lot of mistakes, but you expect that at this level. And you've got to let these young players make the mistakes. That's going to be their best teacher. Exactly, and Mileski there intercepting the ball smartly from the left wing defence straight into the line. We'll try and convert. That's definitely going to be a penalty as the player went to shoot, grabbing him in the air. That's a bit of a no-no from the side, isn't it? Yeah, I'm surprised the referees haven't issued a 2-minute suspension there. But he got away with it, so he's done his job. Yeah, I'm glad you questioned it, because Cesar came up to me and said he spent a year listening to me complain about referees. That was Bill Bailey, Cesar, not me. Avis Paletta puts it over the bar. He tries the cheeky lob, but at the end of the day, not really the best execution on that, was it? No, it wasn't. I like the bravery, though, considering he hasn't had much luck today, and all of a sudden he's still got the bravery to do that. Yeah. And I'm just like, I spoke to Cesar before the game, and I just said that I've always been a critic of the referees. Have you really, Bill? Particularly during games when I was coaching, but they've done a terrific job in terms of the amount of referees that I've seen here. So just the very fact that we've now got a seemingly an army of referees is a testimony to the work that Cesar's done with them. And any game can't go ahead without the referees. So
you know, I'm sure Caesar understands any time I might have a slight criticism of him.
Slight criticism is Bill Bailey's way of putting that nicely. Yeah, no, it is great. I think the amount of referees certainly is a lot better than anything that we used to when I used to play or anything like that in schools handball. We just had teachers used to come down and referee in schools handball and stuff like that, whereas you want obviously proper referees operating on all courts, especially in a finals day. So looking forward to seeing how the schools courts get on, obviously over the course of the weekend, not just the day. As you're right, actually. Chelsea do look like they've got a lot more aggressive on their half-back defence. But it doesn't matter when you've got the 71 charging through, Alfie Scanlon. I think that is 71. He's about to turn over. Yes, it is, Alfie.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's very good one against one, you know, and he's used that to his strength. And I think now Chelsea, rightly so, I was expecting it earlier. They needed this time out.
Yeah, 7-3, nearly 15 minutes of the first half gone. So we're a quarter way through the match, and they trail by 4. Some quick maths there having to be done. You said you expected it slightly earlier from Chelsea. What do they have to do to turn this one around?
I think that I personally believe they don't have to be so aggressive. You know, by being aggressive, you can see that there's speed in this Guildford team. You know, we've not seen very many goals from far out, from 8-9 metres. So with the height and the strength Chelsea have got, they can maybe cover a little bit more of the space and try to force Guildford to go over the top of them. I don't know if that might be the change. Me personally, I think that might be something that they could try out here against this team, because they're offering far too much space to them, in my opinion.
That's interesting, really, though, isn't it? Because that's what you're recommending to Chelsea is exactly how Guildford are actually defending right now, aren't they? They've got the point player running around doing bits, but their actual 5 on the 6 metre, they're not really coming out that much, are they? They're allowing Chelsea to try and shoot over them, to try and force shots from the backcourt. They're quite happy to take shots from 9 metres. So is that sort of, do you think the difference, the fact that Guildford have set up that way to start with, and they've accepted that they're going to get shots from long distance, whereas Chelsea are trying to force the issue?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, no, Chelsea have had 2 or 3 shots from 9 metres. The goalkeeper's done a good job, but the shots have been coming from 9-10 metres, and Guildford seem quite happy to take them and just do their jobs individually, cover their space.
It is worth noting as well that the wingers for Guildford have also done their bit, maybe a bit more than Chelsea. The goal goes in from Gabriel, who's actually found himself on the line now, but I don't really know what the referees have called here. Is it going to be, no, just a free throw? I thought there was maybe a question of whether the Guildford Sabres defender was actually in the area, but they just carry on with the free throw. Again, they've changed a few players around, haven't they? We find Gabriel on the line now instead of left back or right back or centre, which is where he's played the entire game. And he gets the ball on the line, but the ball is batted out of his hand, so he gets the penalty. And it's actually, there we go, we've had a change of penalty taker. We've had 3 already, 2 missed. 1 scored by Rez Paletta. This one is won and taken and scored by Gabriel Zingereno. And he's 1 for 1. Maybe he'll probably stay on it for the rest of this game. That makes it a 7-4 game for now. Guildford Sabres starting to charge their way up, and look at that, Chelsea have actually gone from a 5-1. Their front players not really moving out past the 9 metres. What a pass into the line, and a great save, but the ball's gone in. Good pass from the centre player, the number 80 for Guildford Sabres, Oliver Bennett, finding the line, who I didn't quite catch. I think maybe it was the 77. Jack Bazin, no, he's operating on right wing, isn't he? Which is a bit of a shame, so I missed that one. But it was a great pass anyway from the 80. Just good vision, isn't it? Finding the space from the centre player, knowing exactly where your pivot is. Yeah,
and Chelsea have gone a bit flatter now in their defence, so I think they recognise that maybe they're letting a little bit of space go. So technically it was a good pass to get it to the pivot.
Yeah, and given the fact that their tactic was to flatten the defence, maybe restrict the space, allowing the pivot player to have that much is not what you want to do. And the shot goes wide once again by Rez Paletta, who is a name I'm not going to bore of saying because it's a very fun name to say, but equally that's the only player I seem to be talking about when it comes to Chelsea, and it just doesn't seem to be falling his way.
No, and I think Guildford have now put a player in the front of him. Maybe they recognise from previous games his danger, but I don't think Chelsea's problem is their attack. I think it's their defence.
Yeah, for sure. And the 88 for Guildford Sabres, giving him a bit of a shout out from the left wing, caught the ball from a right half pass. dragged the defender out, not even by doing anything, pretty much just standing there and then finding the pass to the 77. That's Dylan Hurthouse, who's the 88 left winger, finding that pass to 71 Alfie Scanlon once again to charge through that space, which seems to be a definite cornerstone of his game. Markowski finds a space in the centre, but a great save by 82 Sonny Holland. That's his second important save of the game, and we've seen plenty of times over the course of this year's handball in the senior level. Anyway, goalkeepers can really make a difference when it comes to high pressure situations, and the best always step up, and it seems Sonny's doing a good job of that.
Yeah, he's very good with his arms. I'm not so sure about his leg work, so it'll be interesting to see if Chelsea recognise this. But anything in the top corners, he seems to get a hand on it.
You say
that one goes right past them.
It's always the way, isn't it? But a good goal on the right wing. I think that was 33 for Chelsea. Mark Neanderberg Bricks, his first goal of the game. Chelsea, they're fairly low scoring, but they haven't shared it out. Each player only having one goal so far. That's Gabriel Mileski, Arredondo, Bricks and Avis Paletta. All of those only having one out of their 5. Guildford Sabres potentially relying a little bit more on Alfie Scanlon from the left back. There goes through, and to be fair, we mentioned about the goalkeeping for Guildford Sabres. The Chelsea goalkeeper as well, is he having an equally good game, isn't he? I think that's Vuk Barbanic. Potentially a little bit more, when he's sizing up to the ball, he's a little bit more straight on, isn't he? Maybe making himself a little bit bigger, making some good saves through the corners as Chelsea turn the ball over. They look to start to break. Doesn't look like it's going to turn into anything, although they get the shot from the left wing, to be fair. And the 32 of Chelsea, Bruno Arredondo, gets his second of the game. He's been the one operating out front.
Yeah, I think Guildford are struggling now. That Chelsea have pulled a bit flatter now. They're covering more of the space rather than leaving space open behind them. And Guildford are struggling to find a solution here.
Yeah, the score is 6-9. I know on the stream it says 6-8, but according to the scoreboard here in the hall, which I think is the one that we probably will go on, it's 6-9. Actually, there we go, and the score has updated. So Guildford Sabres are 3 ahead. And you're right, I think Chelsea is starting to find a little bit of rhythm and find a little bit of confidence, which is massive, isn't it? Great pass to the line. Great fake, great pass. Girano scores it, and it's just that little bit of movement, isn't it? And the connection between the players is so important.
Yeah, I think moving the player to the pivot now is giving them a lot more threat from the pivot position, and much so that I think Guildford recognise that Chelsea are back in the game now. Definitely
9-7. They're still leading by 2, but once upon a time it was 4. That's been halved, and it's been ever since that timeout earlier on, hasn't it? Really, it was only 5 minutes ago. So Guildford clearly reacting to that with their timeout now. I asked you this before, but what is your theory? If you're Guildford Sabres, are you just trying to calm them down and get back to the game plan at hand, or do you change something now?
I think the problem is that, you get it often with a lot of young players now. They're still in that position where they have to think about a lot of their techniques. So it slows down the speed of the ball, and they've lost that speed now that they're having to think about other possible solutions with Chelsea changing the defence. But it was a good time out by Chelsea because they clearly recognised that they had to change their defensive system, and that's what's got them back in the game. And I think Guildford just they need to have some calm heads, but maybe start to move the ball around a bit faster and maybe run the counter-attack more. They've got a big squad, so they don't have to save any players here.
I was going to say, from a coaching perspective, obviously you've coached pretty much every single age group there is going in England handball, haven't you, Bill? But is that something you have to take into account when you coaching a game like this? Is almost the cognitive overload that you don't want to put more pressure on the tactics and everything like that when you're coming to a timeout like this?
Yeah, exactly. I think you've just got to get the young kids to recognise that one or two things at time. You can't overload them with information, but something maybe about let's move the ball a bit quicker. Okay, it might promote. I'm surprised here that Chelsea now have gone. They've opened up space again for Guildford. So, but let's see if they can cash in on it, and because they have got some good players 1 against 1.
Is this maybe Chelsea trying to second guess what Guildford Sabres were going to do and maybe throw a spanner in the works to make their game plan fail as they break up the other end, and it almost works, but the 36 Lucas Stuttgart-Nielsen couldn't convert it. Yeah, is this to think that maybe to just throw off Guildford Sabres and whatever plan they decided to try and put in place?
I think so. You know, I mean, it's a really open game. Now it's about chances. You know, there's always a chance that they'll miss. There's always a chance they'll score. But you know, I think that Guildford have just, if they move the ball quicker now and get it to their key players at a good 1-against-1.
Oh. There's a suspect of a charging foul there, I thought, potentially. I mean, both benches shouted. Probably the best thing is to just restart the game as they start to move it now. Good pass out, great hands, Gabriel Gerano. You said earlier, Bill, about 5 minutes ago, that moving him to the line was potentially a big reason for them getting back into it. That was a great catch. Yeah,
he's made a big difference as a pivot player, and number 35 is able to connect with him a lot better. But you know, you can see now also Chelsea are open, you know, and I mean, I'm not sure what they're trying to achieve with this. Maybe they're trying to get a bit more turnover to get them back in the game, but still a long way to go.
So we have 8 minutes left of this half, and then another 25, of course. And you don't want to, if you're Chelsea, you don't want to use. Sorry, we don't have 8 minutes to go, actually, do we? We only have 3 minutes to go this half because it's a 25-minute half, of course. But if you're Chelsea, you're pretty much committed to this defence now because you don't have a timeout to change it. And as you said, you don't want to overload the kids on the court by shouting the tactical change without explaining it to them.
Yeah, I mean, they struggled with a 3-2-1 defence, so I can't see how they can quickly make the changes to play a 4-2 defence. You know, it baffles me, to be honest.
I can only think that it was something that a little extra that they planned to try and maybe throw off Guildford Sabres or something like that. But as you said, if you haven't trained it and played it all year, to play it in a final is a little bit high pressure, isn't it? And maybe we'll see this sort of disappear in the second half. We'll have to see. But Guildford Sabres playing expertly. There's lots of movement off the ball, isn't there? It's tireless effort. It is a lot of energy to not only play this defence, but to play against it as well. But look at the space through the centre of the court. You don't want to offer them that much. It's not the best shot. There's lots of space on the wings as well. There's lots of good movement. Yeah.
And I mean, it is putting pressure on Guildford. They're, you know, they're rushing, they're shooting, you know, and I think, no, it could be a tactic that works for them. I'm just surprised. I think that, you know, Guildford just need to calm their players down. You know, I don't think they expect it. And like you said, Jack, maybe this is Chelsea just trying to, you know, counter what they may have discussed at the time out.
Well, the score is 8-10. There's about a minute and a half to go of this match. Sorry, this half, I should say, actually. We've still got another 25 minutes after that, of course. So neither team need to panic. I said in the build-up, Bill, that a 3-goal game at half-time is pretty much nothing in handball, isn't it? Because you can get 3 goals in 1 minute on fast breaks.
Exactly, yeah.
So there is no need to panic. But passive play is being called. I'll explain what that is, or Bill will explain what that is in a couple of seconds' time. Because actually, I've been saying it's 6 passes all year, and you corrected me. It's 4, actually, at the semi-finals, isn't it? So what is passive play, Bill?
Yeah, passive play is when the referees think that any attacking team are being passive with their play. It can be called at any time, but it's normally around about 30 seconds of the attack. Once the court referee and the goal line referee raise their arm, that means the attacking team have only 4 passes to shoot at the goal. If they take a 5th pass, they'll lose possession.
Yeah, you did used to be 6 passes, and actually, to be fair, in the British Super Cup, actually, when I was commentating on it the other weekend, I said that I was corrected. It's 4 passes, and then every single time it was passive play, they played 6. So I was very confused at that one, but maybe we'll get some clarification.
Yeah, they're a different breed north of the border.
Well, yeah, exactly. Guildford Sabres on the other end, but a massive miss just on the stroke at half-time to make it a 3-goal game. That would have hurt Chelsea, but they've got an opportunity now to make it a 1-goal game. 10-8 it is with 10 seconds to go. It is Paletta out to the left wing, and it is a 1-goal game, and it's a good finish by the number 32 for Chelsea. And even though they're still losing, Bruno Alabondo certainly lifts the mood for the Chelsea players going into that half-time, and Guildford Sabres have seen a 4-goal lead reduced to 1 as Ian Waterhouse just came over to me and started saying something to me, but I don't know whether he was pointing at me or you to go over and have a chat with him there, Bill. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll have a look at a few of the replays here as well. The under-16s, the quality, maybe the occasion, got to them a little bit in the early stages, but the intensity, the movement that we've seen did improve an awful lot through the rest of that game.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the under-16 final with Trafford last year, and the occasion definitely got to our players. And so I understand that, how these young players felt early on, why there was so many mistakes happening here. But they have both settled down, and they've made some tactical changes. And hats off to Chelsea; they've got themselves back in the game. But I think the crucial thing was when they took Scanlon off for Guildford. That's just that gave Chelsea the incentive to push out and 2 more of the players. Maybe that was the reason for going 4-2. They recognised that Scanlon was off, and they could apply that pressure to the other 2 players.
I was going to say, it's not like Guildford Sabres don't have other players that can be a threat, but they seem to just need that little bit of glue, don't they, to maybe hold the team together, as some teams do tend to. Right, we're going to leave you to enjoy some of the replays. I'm going to go over to Ian Waterhouse, who I think is pitch side or court side. We'll be back in a couple of seconds.
Oh wow, what a first half of action we've seen. We've literally got the Chelsea team just to my left here, right, actually looking at it on screen. Jack's joined us from the commentary box as well, and at one point Sabres were 4-0 in the lead. My word, Chelsea have pulled this one back, haven't they?
They have. A couple of crucial timeouts were called by Chelsea. They changed a few of the tactics. I think it was the defence. Bill Bailey sort of noticed it was the defence of Chelsea that was really letting them down. Maybe a few nerves and frustration in attack. Yeah. So calm them down in attack, solidify them in defence is what the task was for that timeout, and that worked. And within 5 minutes, it was almost a 2-goal. Well, it was a 2-goal game. Then Guildford Sabres had to call the timeout, and Chelsea threw a spanner in the works. I don't think Guildford Sabres were expecting a 4-2 defence to appear out of nowhere. It did appear. It opened the game up for the last 4 minutes, and it's worked on Chelsea's favour.
It's certainly game on, is it? Number 3, I know you mentioned him for Chelsea. Joreno really came into the game late on in that second half. Then he played a blinder, put 3 on the board for his side, and got them into it.
Well, that was it. I think a few of their players maybe played in their preferred positions to start with, but Guildford Sabres knew exactly what to do to counteract that. So all of a sudden, you're talking about Joreno there. He played in centre to start. Then he moved him out to the left wing to try and get him to connect, whereas Paletta a little bit. Then he moved over to the right back to try and just give her maybe a little bit of a balance over the court, over the entire team. And now they moved him to the line, and that seems to be where he's operated best. His hands are good, his movement's good, his screening is as well. He's got a few penalties, and crucially, he's scored those penalties, because Chelsea did get 3 penalties early on within the first 10 minutes. They only converted 1, so they had to change it up.
Yeah, it was a number 35, Aris Paletta, with the penalty. In fact, a bit of a showboat one at one point as well, which didn't quite come off. I think actually it's quite fortunate. I did see his coaches weren't watching that penalty, so I think he might have been in for it.
They'll watch it back, that's for sure.
But they're under 16s, they're going to try these things, aren't they?
You need a little bit of swagger and a little bit of arrogance about yourself. And the thing is, what I quite liked about it is he tried quite hard to get into the game for the majority of those first 10 minutes, and nothing was really coming off for him. So to step, he scored a penalty out of 3. But to step up and then try the lob penalty after you've had about 7 shots and none of them are going in or something, shows that he's still got confidence in himself and he's willing to take the ball on. He just needed something to fall for him. It hasn't been his game so far, but the other players have started to pick themselves up. I think the 32 for Chelsea as well, Bruno Arredondo, he's playing out on the pivot and everywhere else, whatever defence they've played, he's been the one running about the most. He's moved over to this left wing, and he's scored 2 crucial goals as well to get them back into it, so you've got to give a shout out to them.
Yeah, let's just touch on Sabres as well. They did race into that 4-goal lead. In fact, it took Chelsea until the 8th minute to score, and it was that penalty, as we mentioned. But of course, Sabres pulled it back. They went into the lead 9-7 with 5 to go. As you can see, there's still just 1 in it now at the half time. But on Sabres, Alfie Scanlon, the number 71, he's had some half, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, we were impressed by him, me and Bill. I think they maybe potentially took him off towards the end of that first half, and all of a sudden, I wouldn't say he was a glue necessarily, but he was a driving force from that left back position. He has the ability to not worry. I think Bill said it actually in the commentary, that he tends to, at this age group, see that players, they think about their technique. They have to think about their technique instead of the senior players that maybe just, they're so used to it by now, they don't think about the technique, they're entirely focused on the game. He seems to have the ability to focus on the game instead of the technique, which is crucial because you've got to read that there's space behind the Chelsea defenders, and he could see that, and he could see exactly the gap that he needed to run through as soon as he got the ball, and bouncing off other players as well. He seemed to have that connection, and when he went off, Chelsea went to that aggressive 4-2. Guildford Sabres lost a little bit of connection, but you have to keep in mind that with 20 seconds to go, Guildford Sabres had a fast break. They could have made it 11-8, sorry. It was a 3-goal game at half-time. We're talking about a completely different half-time analysis then all of a sudden. So you've got to keep that in mind. A 2-goal, a 1-goal, a 3-goal lead means nothing in handball. There's 25 minutes left to play. It can be converted around very quickly.
Now, it's tight, as we said. Sabres leading it by 1. If it's a tie after 50 minutes, what happens, Jack?
Yeah, so you go into extra time, basically, and it's 2 5-minute periods. So 5 minutes, and they get a 1-minute timeout, basically, which is half-time, and then it changes over to another 5-minute period. Whoever wins at the end of that obviously wins the game. If it's still drawing, they go to penalties, and that's when you really see the pressure start to ramp up, and a lot of these players that maybe have that arrogance, the swagger, you start to see them crack a little bit, or you see what they're made of. Basically, they could step up and show no fear whatsoever. You could step up and start to see a little bit of a crack in the armour, and that's when you start to see maybe tears start flying, emotions are high, crowd gets involved as well. It's brilliant drama from a neutral perspective. It is the worst feeling in the world from a player's perspective.
I'm literally stood right behind the Chelsea bench here, and the young man with the ponytail, we're going to have a word with him after the game as well, because he gets very animated on the side.
He's
very passionate.
Is he coach?
He's the assistant coach. He's the assistant coach of Jamie, and he gets very. You might, and if you can actually see him now, look at him now, he's so animated. So trying to G and pump his team up. He's really up for this one. What are you expecting in the second half then, Jack? We saw Sabres race out the blocks. It's going to be tighter in the second half now, aren't we? Are we expecting Chelsea perhaps a bit of momentum at the end of that first half? They're going to carry through into the second. I
think Chelsea will go back from a 4-2 defence back to potentially the one they had a 5-minute good spell in, where it was a little bit more flat, restricted the space for the Chelsea players. But I'm actually going to have to go back and actually commentate on the game, because the players are lining up behind us.
Oh yeah, here we go. You go back, and I promise you're going to rest after the game, Jack. I promise that. Big thank you to Jack Oliphant. Not only is he co-presenting here as well, he's also calling the action with Bill Bailey as well. So second half action coming up. Chelsea v Guildford Sabres. It's the male under-16 National Cup final here at David Ross Sports Village in Nottingham. I'm going to hand back to Jack and Bill for what is going to be a thrilling second half. Who is going to be champion? We're about to find out in the next 25 minutes.
Thank you very much, Ian. I can't wait for the comments to flood up with the complaints of hearing my voice for far too much of this broadcast. But here we go. We are back underway, aren't we, Bill? Chelsea shooting from left to right this time. Guildford Sabres obviously in the blue shooting right to left. 1-goal game. You've had some time to reflect on it, Bill. Everybody's heard my opinions of the first half. What are you thinking, or what are you expecting from a Chelsea perspective, particularly here?
I think just before half-time, Chelsea definitely had the momentum, and that's the thing with timeouts and no breaks. Sometimes you can lose the momentum after that, so it'll be interesting to see if they still keep a hold of this, and it looks like they are.
Yeah, no, that's the first time we've seen Ariz Paletta really shut his stuff. He's had a stagnated first half. Maybe a little bit of a break, maybe a talking to is exactly what he needs to get your star players out of their shells a little bit. He's a good step from the left-back position, and he secured it into the corner. So it's a tied game now, 10-all. Guildford Sabres. And, well, I sort of was chatting a little bit to Ian then, Bill, and wondering what their defence was going to be, Chelsea's. I was saying they were going to get rid of that 4-2 and go back to a flatter 5-1. That seems to be the case.
Yeah, definitely. But the good thing is they're not opening as much space in behind them now, and Guildford really are struggling with that. And the goalkeeper's been able to make a couple of saves because everything's forced a little bit wider now.
Samuel Atrill, though, finds a space on the wing. There may not be as much space through the centre of the court, but they managed to find it on the wing. And can they transition quickly? There's space on the left. Atrill gets the ball again. His second in about 20 seconds there. And I said a 2, a 3, a 1-goal lead doesn't matter in handball, because within a minute, Guildford Sabres get themselves a 2-goal lead. Fantastic transition there, and it's just an unforced error, I think, from the Chelsea team, Bill.
Yeah. I think, again, you know, Guildford are struggling here to try and get a hold of the momentum. It's important for them to, you know, try and keep this run of goals going. But Chelsea are not going to let this go.
They are not. Now they've got back into this game, they will not let it slip again. And too much space. He was almost completely unopposed. No contact on the line player for Girano there. And considering how much of a threat he is, Guildford Sabres won't want that to happen too many times. Forced pass to the line means they get the ball back. And it's Paletta. And then you got the 40, David Markowski, in the centre of the court. Reminds me a little bit of my hair back when I was his age, actually. Would you believe it? I didn't realise how sort of distinctive it looked back in the day, Bill.
Well, you obviously set a trend there, Jack.
What can I say? But it looks like Chelsea have sort of maybe settled with this formation of Girano being on that line position as they try and move it from the right back. And Aladondo, who from the left wing scored a few crucial goals for Chelsea, he seems to have secured his place out there. So there's a little bit less movement in terms of team selection. Oh.
I think there was contact on his face.
Yeah, so the ball thrown at the keeper's head, and a 2-minute suspension is given. I mean, from your perspective, what is the sort of rulings for that now? Because it's changed apparently a little bit from back in my day, as they say.
Yeah. If you hit the goalkeeper on the head, from close range, it's normally going to be a 2-minute suspension because there's no real reason for it. And I welcome it because sometimes they can be under pressure and inaccurate, and it's down to the referees to make that call. But there was no pressure on the winger there. And rightly so, it just discourages people throwing the ball at the goalkeeper's head, hoping that they'll duck.
Yeah, and I think there are little niggly rules, isn't there, about whether the goalkeeper actually moves into the ball and stuff like that. So if the goalkeeper sort of his head moves into the ball, then it's not 2 minutes. But if it stays still, there is no excuse for hitting the keeper in the face. Really,
no. But you're right there. You're relying on the referee being looking at the situation before they take time. And Caesar did take time before sending the player off, so it was a good decision.
He did indeed. So, first power play, you could argue, of the game. The first time that we've had a team with a player advantage. If you are new to handball, then, oh my days, that would have looked spectacular if you were new to handball, or whether you were actually seasoned handballer, that would have looked spectacular. But a 2-minute suspension is a bit like ice hockey, isn't it, Bill? The player is allowed back on after 2 minutes, but Chelsea have to operate with a player down for the time being. And some teams like to counteract that with bringing the keeper out.
Yeah. So it's a well-known tactic, more so in the men's game than the women's at the highest level. But where they'll leave the goal empty and take the chance that they can play 6v6. I'm not a big fan of it myself personally. Most teams are used to defending 5 against 6 anyway, and Guildford are doing not a bad job here, considering.
Yeah, the idea of those in these 2 minutes is that you obviously go unanswered and score 2 or 3 goals yourself, maybe fast breaks and break them down. There's lots of spaces that'll be on the wing positions, particularly. Passive play is being called here for Chelsea. That's another problem they're going to have to face as well. They can't just waste time. And there's a foul given here by Caesar, and I'm not...
Yeah, I think they might be on one pass as well.
Yeah, so pretty much a shot straight away is going to have to be made. They're going to have to switch on a little bit, though, and make this aware. Girano's come from the line. He goes for the backcourt shot, and it goes wide. So, in fact, I think they get another foul, or is it a corner ball?
Another pass now from the corner, but they must shoot now.
Girano takes the pop shot, and I think that's saved by the goalkeeper. Not the hardest shot he'll have to save today, really. but Chelsea were forced into it, and well, Guildford Sabres get the ball back, but Chelsea have run that clock down, and I think it was pretty much 0-0 actually through the entirety of the 2 minutes. They go out to the left wing. A Trill tries to get the shot for his third of the game. The goalkeeper recovers, but from a Guildford Sabres perspective, that is not the best 2 minutes you really want to see.
No, and often with the juniors, that when having 6 against 5 is a big advantage when there's a 2-minute suspension, but you've got to have a certain set play to open that space up. And often with the juniors at this level, we're talking about the information overload tactically. That's maybe not a consideration, so it always still ends up one player against one player.
I remember back when I was a bit younger, we used to do moves and stuff like that for under 16s, and I saw both of these teams warming up and running through plays and moves. We haven't seen any of them, have we?
No,
that is quite often the case in under 16s and juniors, isn't it? We train them, but in the game, the players sort of don't think about it, do they?
No, and they don't recognise. No, because the game's chaotic anyway. In any sport that you play, and you can train all the set plays you want, but you never know what's going to appear in front of you, and they're in an occasion, a cup final. Most of these kids have never played in a stadium with fans, so all thoughts of any pre-match talk sometimes go straight out the window.
Because I remember playing against your Salford team and Warrington and everything like that, Bill, and every single attack was a set play, wasn't it? From obviously a senior male perspective. And we were a lot younger for Diva, weren't we? A very young team, and we just didn't have an answer to it. So if you do the set plays well and everything like that, they're so effective, aren't they? And that's the reason why you use them.
Yeah, exactly. It helps you exploit space. All the players are sure where they want the pressure to come from. But it takes time to get confidence in them, and sometimes young players don't see that straight away. And I'm a big fan of when you're at this age group, you want to develop them as good individual players.
Yeah, I was going to say, even we'll get back to the game in a minute, but even if you're training and learning those set plays, even if you don't use them in a game, at least you're still aware of them and still practicing them for when you move into the senior age groups, when you do start seeing them a little bit more. It's still an important part of the game, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Right, so Chelsea, in that passage of play while we were talking about the set plays and everything like that, Chelsea did actually get into the lead for the first time this game. It is 13-all now, but the game is starting to get a bit more emotional. It's starting to get a little bit carried away. So even the coaches, the fans on the bench as well, they're starting to get a little bit more up for it. And that'll pass over to the players, and they start maybe trying a little bit too hard. The game's getting a little bit more frantic, and from a neutral perspective, it's getting a little bit more exciting, Bill.
Yeah. And, both coaches are up there. You need to be careful. I've had a yellow card myself for having too many people stood up.
Just the one. Just the one, Bill, over your time. I can't believe that, honestly. It is a lot like football, though. You can get a 2-minute suspension even as a coach, can't you? And you have to bring a player off.
Yeah, I've had 1 or 2 of them as well.
Yeah, I've seen 1 or 2 of them in your time, Bill. But that must be, it's a good goal there by Guildford Sabres, but from that perspective, if anybody's wondering if a coach does get 2 minutes, what happens? Well, he has to bring a player off, and you, as a coach, the one who got the 2 minutes, have to select that player, which is it's the most heartbreaking thing in the world.
Yeah. No, it's not the best decision.
Right, so Guildford Sabres back into the lead, only by 1 though. Girano tries to get it to the line, couldn't force the defender back into the area to get the penalty. 34 minutes gone of this 50-minute game, remember, is only 50 minutes, not 60 in the junior age groups. A missed shot from the right wing, the number 39 for Chelsea, that is Vicente Luis. Always difficult as a right-hander from the right wing. You have to lean your body, twist your body over so much. Oh, they try and force it to the line, Sabres, but, I mean, trying to pass to the line from 12 metres is always going to be a bit tricky. Yeah.
I think they just need to settle down. I think they've all got one eye on the scoreboard, but the important thing is it's not the score, it's the digits below it, how much time's left in this game.
Very wise words, actually, I'd say. I never used that line. I might use that if I ever start coaching again. Again, Chelsea turning the ball over. Lots of unforced errors there. We said about the emotion of this game, getting to the players, getting to the fans, getting to the coaches. Is that starting to bleed into the players a little bit? We saw nerves early on. Are we seeing almost over-arousal in this sort of second period? They get the goal, though, number 11, from that left wing, going into that line position. The Guildford Sabres, it's not the number 11, it must be the 77. Is that Jack Bayston? Yes. Oh, no, it's 71 actually. Alfie Scanlon's back on the court. Keep mistaking him for the number 11, which there isn't one.
Yeah, he's turning into a key player, I think, for Guildford on this left side.
Yeah, as I said, I think I said in the half-time sort of segment that we did with Ian there, you said about players having to think about their technique. He's able to think first about the space in the game before the technique, whereas everybody else seems to be maybe thinking about other things. Good shot from the right wing, and I think I'm going to guess that is another 77 because he's been absolutely lethal. Bayston from the right wing, and they need to, if anything, get the ball out to him a little bit more.
Yeah, it's amazing that of all the players here, from both squads, he's the only left-hander on the pitch. Yeah.
He is.
So I think Chelsea are suffering because they don't have any left-hander to play on the right wing for them, and the last 3 shots they've missed have come from the right wing position.
Yeah, it's a lethal weapon, as I said. From your perspective, I had this conundrum when I was coaching at Leeds Beckett once. If you got a left-hander, are you always more prominent to put them on the right wing or the right back? Is it dependent completely on the mindset of the player?
Yeah, I think so. It's often, it might be worth playing they could be a shorter player. Not if they're a tall player, your option would be to try and play them in the backcourt position. If they're a shorter player but they're good 1-against-1, it just gives the team more balance if you have that left-hander.
Oh, right, yes. Sorry. Yeah, we just got reminded by John Pearce that we have to pick him out of the match at some point as well.
Okay.
Well, so we'll have to think about that a little bit more. But, so it's depending on the physicality and the mentality of the player.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, in the UK, it was a statistic that was given to me prior to the Olympic Games in London that, we are really, I think it's the UK has the highest population of left-handed left-handed people in the whole of Europe. Often we've gone over to Europe and played top national teams, and they're struggling to find left-handers.
Really?
We're awash. Currently in the under-19 women's squad that I've got 6 left-handers in the squad.
6?
Yeah.
Wow, you're blessed, Bill. I have to say with that, because that's. I don't think I've ever played in a team with more than 2, maybe 3 at any one time, and that's even for GB and stuff like that. So, yeah, nice to see. Alice Paletta, well, he had he could have shot there, couldn't he, Bill? A bit of a forced pass to the line, a little bit of a game management.
Yeah, I think young players often do that. They make the decision they're going to pass it. They don't often see, the situation that it develops, But that's a mistake that he'll learn from.
4-2, it seems to be back in operation for Chelsea. After that timeout, they're trying to press the issue. It's a 3-goal game all of a sudden. Guildford Sabres sort of managed to run away with it in the last couple of minutes. And again, Albie Scanlon. We got reminded about player of the match earlier on, Bill. Well, he's a potential vote, isn't he?
Yeah, certainly. I think him and the right winger 77, they've played particularly well, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, I think. And plus, to give Chelsea their due, I think Gereno as well on the line, who's played everywhere position and seems to be an massive influence on that line.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the Chelsea shout at the moment.
Yeah, and he's a good defender as well.
He is indeed. There is the shot from Alice Paletta. Managed to get past his player on the left back from the left back position. Stick it into the bottom right-hand corner. Nice little shot shape there. Guildford Sabres turn the ball over, trying to force it. Chelsea on the break now. So they slow it down, they try to go 1v1. Alice Paletta finds the back of the net somehow. Coach gives a little bit of a fist bump to us. I'm not sure he's entirely sure that was never going to go in either, but Alice Paletta gets the goal to make it his 4th of the game. Only betted by Gereno on his team and Scanlon on the Guildford Sabres.
I think that adds to my concerns about the goalkeeper with his footwork. Reminiscent of a very young Bobby White.
I'm sure Bobby will love that comparison. Thank you very much. He's probably saying in the chat. It's the way he sort of almost... Footwork's so important for goalkeeper because he ends up twisting a little bit. So his arms are very high and wide, but he twists as soon as the shot comes to him, doesn't he?
Yeah, we young goalkeepers when they come in, lifting the leg is normally a nervous reaction.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a key reaction that they've seen something. It's just a nervous thing. But he tends to kind of twist his body, and then he leaves a space, open on the bottom corner.
So obviously, as a goalkeeper, you really want to make your body as big as possible. So standing square and being brave to the ball, which is utterly terrifying. Don't get me wrong, and I wouldn't dream it on my worst enemy, sort of thing. But it's yeah, you definitely don't want to be making yourself narrower, which twisting your body certainly does, especially the lower end of the body. So young goalkeepers, they'll learn though, and they can always turn around. A good pass from the 33 and into the line. That's Mark Neanderberg Bricks into the line. Gerano gets his 6th of the game. That moves in one clear of Alfie Scanlon, that seems to be doing battle over who can be the top goal scorer. 10 minutes to go, it's 17 all.
Yeah, this 4-2 defence does seem to cause Guildford some problems. But you know, recognise they are nice by the right back to recognise the space in behind the front two.
Yeah, there is space to attack behind. That's exactly what you got to do. Chelsea get the ball. I thought they were going to get off the rebound. Is that a penalty?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a penalty. I think defending in the area. And Mileski winning that one, I think, the number 23, actually related to the Mileski with the ponytail, who's currently on the bench, actually, to my left. And as Balletta steps up, he's been given the ball back on the penalties, and he scores it this time, his 2nd penalty and his 5th of the game. You can see he's got some confidence about him all of a sudden again.
Yeah, you know, I think they feel the game's there to be won now. You know, Guildford just seem to be struggling. They can't get Scanlon back in the game now. Their left side is completely nullified with this defence.
Yeah, a massive tactical change there by the Chelsea coach, and don't know if he can run it for the next 10 minutes, but it's certainly been good enough to get them back into the game. And we've spoken a lot over the course of this season, covering the live handball in the Premier Handball League, about the momentum that, you know, teams can face and whether or not they're actually, you know, can sustain it over the course of an amount of time. Chelsea look like they're coming and going. They sort of have opportunities to get back into the game, even take the lead.
They've got a timeout coming.
And then Guildford all of a sudden come back into it, and that's exactly what Guildford are going to try and do now, isn't it? That momentum just keeps shifting in handball.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're a coach, it's important to remember, you know, you sometimes need the timeout to get information across, but you've only got a minute, you know, so what information you can get over in a minute is really, really vital for you. But, you know, also it's a tool that you can use to stop the momentum of your opponents, you know, just calm things down, you know, get your team recentered and stop their actual pressure, because it's, you know, it's for sure Chelsea have the momentum at the moment.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I quite like when they brought in football the 5-player substitution. Obviously was to do with COVID and players' fitness and everything like that, but they obviously kept it, and that gives the coaches more of an influence on the game. They're more important, their game management, and I quite like that in handball, because you have 3 timeouts, don't you, per team. That influence in the game can only grow, and you're taking part in stopping that momentum and potentially changing the entire thing, rather than just shouting it from the side. It's a really sort of interesting sort of aspect of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's well used in the NBA, you know, with the amount of timeouts they have there and the different levels of timeout they can call. And a lot of the time they are used to try and take momentum off teams, you know, not necessarily to give any tactical information, you know, but just to stop their move forward to, you know, opening a too big a points gap that's going to be irretrievable then.
Yeah, I used to use them a little bit at university, because a lot of students are quite hot-headed and they want to do it all and they want to just go, and they don't really have the sort of knowledge of the game. I used to call timeouts just to make them stop, go silent and say, just calm down. Like, literally, just grab a drink, nobody talks, sit there, and then remind them of the game plan when they go back into it. Guildford Sabres over on that right wing, and Baisden once again absolutely nailing the game plan here whenever he gets the ball, securing it into the top corner. And as I said, you really want to move that. If the play's not coming left and Scanlon can't get on the ball, there's no harm in moving out to that right wing, is there?
And I think I mean, good on the coaches. I think they recognise that there is, you know, they can use the right side of the attack a lot better. One of their best players is over there, so they don't have to stress so much about the left side. Yeah,
good attack by Chelsea, exploiting the space as the point player for Guildford Sabres rushed up, missed the ball. All of a sudden, it's a 3 versus 2 potential situation, or 4 versus 3 if they use the line play properly. They did get it to the left wing, but it wasn't good enough to get the goal. And the 34, I think, travels. Travels through. So I think he was surprised that it just opened up for him. Sometimes you sort of go into it thinking you're going to get contact, and all of a sudden you realise, oh God, I've actually got to shoot here.
I think he would have been okay if he'd have landed with both feet together, but because he landed one in front of the other, it forced him to take the 4th step, which gave him the travelling. But you're exactly right. I think he didn't expect the space.
Yeah, we've just seen an elbow fly into the face of the Guildford Sabres player. I don't believe it was intentional or anything like that, but you really got to be careful when it comes to wriggling away.
What about handbags, I think.
Yeah, when it comes to wriggling away from a defender, obviously defenders doing everything they can to keep hold of you. You're doing everything you can to turn away from them. And yeah, arm a little bit high there from his Paletta. But we all carry on. Nobody's given the 2 minutes. Nobody's been told off. Mileski couldn't make the goal. A good save there by the 82 again with his interesting twisted technique, but it's worked sometimes, isn't it?
Of course, yeah, and I think this right side for Chelsea's been expensive for them, particularly the right wing. You know, they're not getting any joy there.
What a pass, though, from the corner straight to the line. Gereno, a little bit of good creativity from the right winger there of Chelsea. A bit of good awareness, almost Trent Alexander-Arnold, Divock Origi style, I think, even though it hurts me to say it. Good goal there by Chelsea, but it's replied straight away by Guildford Sabres, who still lead this game by 1. Get the ball to Gereno. It's going to be a penalty for defending inside the area. Oh, it is Paletta. Takes the ball then. Gereno, who I think has 100% penalty conversion rate in this game, has been taken off it. The second half, it's the second penalty, but at this time it's gone wide, but it is Paletta. No goals. Well, he's only scored, I think, 2 out of the 5 he's taken. You got to wonder why Gereno's probably been taken off it. Guildford Sabres go right up the other end, and it's a bit of a pop shot from nothing, but they get the goal.
Yeah, and I think it's the surprise, the left-hander. You know, I don't think the defender was expecting that. No, because they probably normally play against a right-hander there.
Yeah.
Good speed.
Yeah, very good speed. Lack of composure, I think, at the end of it, though, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. Normal for young players.
Yeah, well,
keeper's giving the ball away now.
And again, lacking composure for Guildford Sabres. He's got given the ball, and almost you just, because you never trained for that situation, you don't really know what to do with it. He just rushed to take the shot.
Yeah. I'm sure the coach would have liked an alternative from the player there.
To be fair, I think everybody looked around not really knowing what went. I mean, in fact, me as well. I thought they were going to just give the ball keeper back the ball, but yeah, a bit forced. With then 5.5 minutes to go, then Chelsea find their way through, but a good save there with his hands. Is there a foul in that? Yes, there is. I think Guildford Sabres just did enough to put him off. 33 goes up. Oh, he had a little decent fake, but he just couldn't follow through with it. He'd sold the defenders.
Yeah, I think if Guildford can nail the work between the playmaker and the pivot for Chelsea, I can see them going on and winning this game. They look like the only real threats that Chelsea have got at this moment. Yeah, well,
Elisa Paletta has, I think, missed his last 4 shots that he's taken, including that penalty, obviously. And that's been very expensive for them. His lack of conversion, even though he's clearly got a good arm on him, he's got a good step and decent awareness of the game, hasn't fallen for him at all this game, has it?
No. I know it's just unfortunate. Maybe the occasion's got to him.
Yeah, getting a little bit frustrated potentially. He has still scored 5, so it's not been a terrible game for him, but out of the amount of shots that he's taken, he's probably only converted about 30% of them, which is not really what you were hoping for or expect. Very, very tight game, though, with 4.5 to go. It is 21-19 to Guildford Sabres. I know the screen says 20, but it is 21. Scanlon from the left wing. And I tell you what, Bill, hell of a finish.
Nice finish.
Scanlon then makes it 6 for himself, and a timeout is called by Chelsea for what, if I'm counting correctly, I think is their final timeout of the game. And normally that would we'd be saying that's a little bit early, but actually it's in the last 4 minutes, isn't it now? So what are you expecting from Chelsea? Are they going to go all out? Are we going to see that 4-2? We're going to go 3-3?
Yeah, I think, no, important thing, they need to convert this time, you know, and try and get it down to 2, and then they'll want the ball back. So I'm anticipating they might go with a 4-2 again, or they may even try, because the coach did say to me at the beginning that they can play 3-3 quite well. So maybe we might see that in this, but certainly they need the ball if they're going to put pressure on this scoreline.
Well, if you're brave enough to go 4-2 in the first half, you might as well be brave enough to go 3-3 in the last 4.
Well, exactly. You're in a final, you know. I mean, you've got to try and do everything you can to win the game, and sometimes it's having that bravery and make that brave decision and take that gamble.
We've spoken a lot about Chelsea, but fair play, Guildford Sabres. They've pretty much led for 99% of this game, haven't they? Obviously, that first half, they came out of the blocks really strong. Their defence has been solid. They haven't really done too much else with it. They've been happy with it for the time being. And they've had some really key players, good moves, good crosses. All in all, if they were champions, I don't think anybody could really argue.
No, I don't think so. I mean, they resolved the 4-2 after the timeout and forced Chelsea back to 5-1. That allowed Scanlon back in the game. So, yeah, the coaches have managed the team well.
And even when they sort of tend to get found out with that 4-2, there's still plenty of off-ball movement, which is exactly what you need, isn't it?
Yeah,
that can trip teams up sometimes.
Yeah, the good energy in the team, and like I say, they've got a big bench as well. So I'm sure they'll be the ones with most of the energy in this final few minutes.
Yeah, they just need maybe a little bit more composure from a couple of players, a couple of fringe players, potentially. Good movement there by Chelsea into Girano. Good line play, to be fair. He held that position well, didn't he, for screening that player?
Yeah, he's been quite impressive to me as a pivot, you know. I think they found a solution for him there. But Guildford need to find a solution to put pressure on him and stop the ball into him.
Yeah, I'm going to... Guildford Sabres then just need to control this game. They don't need to rush it, they don't need to force it, which is exactly what happened, but it converts over to the left wing, and the number 88 gets a what will be a potentially crucial goal off the rebound, actually. And that's exactly what Guildford Sabres have done, a little bit more than Chelsea, and that's just convert the ball for maybe half chances. Girano gets it in the end, a little bit lucky how it came to him, and it was lucky that Guildford scored their 23rd goal, so he's sure he won't mind too much. 23-21, it is on the scoreboard according to our in live, and I think, yeah, that does include the goal that was scored from the left wing by the 88 for Guildford Sabres, who, as I said, all they need to do is hold on to this ball, don't rush it, don't throw it away. 2 minutes to go. Is this, from a coaching perspective, is this a bit of a nightmare?
Yeah, you've got to try and stay calm in these situations, because now if you're not calm, then it can get onto the players. You know, so the Chelsea coaches there kind of anxious, you know, and you can see that on them, and sometimes that rubs off on the players, but sometimes it has an effect. You know, there's no one size fits all.
I was going to say, it depends on the mentality of the players that you've got out there on court, really, doesn't it? And as Chelsea try and break up, that could have been pivotal going into the final 2 minutes with a one-goal lead instead, one-goal deficit instead of two.
Yeah, they're always a crucial time in the game, this last 5-minute period. That's where you want your players that are calm, like Scanlon here. He's good 1-against-1. Can he see his chance?
He takes the ball, it's taking the contact, isn't it, in these situations? You're still driving at the goal, you're still attacking, so passive play's not getting called. Yeah. But you're doing it in a way where you're probably going to keep the ball at the end of it. You're not taking half chances.
Well, exactly. He's had a couple of goals, he's had a couple of penalties against him, so, you know, he's played really well.
Yeah, it's we will announce the player of the match as the final whistle blows, but here is passive play. Scanlon with the fake. Is that travel? Yeah, I don't think he did the bounce quick enough. So Chelsea get the ball back for one more play, potentially. They need to just, actually no, they need to do a couple more plays, don't they? They need to shoot, they need to score, they need to get the ball back as soon as possible. That is Paletta trying to force the issue. Moves the ball out to the centre. You can tell the Guildford Sabres 5-1 defence is focused mainly on the left back, the number 35, that is Paletta. They're not really worried about the rest of the team.
Yeah, it's good defence. They're working well as a unit.
That is Paletta, looks to the left. The foul is given. No, it's goalkeeper's ball. 30 seconds left. Chelsea coach aiming to have their team all the way at the court. Go player for player, and the timeout's going to be called by Guildford Sabres with 30 seconds to go. I was just getting all excited then, and then all of a sudden they call the timeout. And, well, if you're the Sabres, from a coaching perspective, that's probably the right call, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. He needed to get his players in. You know, he's only got seconds on the clock. They're all young players. They will get giddy. They won't realise that, you know, even if they don't score here, as long as they have some kind of possession with the ball, that, you know, there's not going to be enough time on the clock for Chelsea to score. They'll probably anticipate Chelsea going man-to-man, but I think there's a lot of legs in this Guildford team. And they might find a solution if they have to go man-to-man. You can already see the disappointment on some of the Chelsea players' faces.
Yeah, the Chelsea players, they certainly had their opportunities. They just weren't clinical enough with them. Composure wasn't necessarily there. Guildford, though, They're going to set back up what will be a big 25 seconds in their season. The National Cup for the male under-16s is on the line. The referee hadn't blown his whistle. The timeout was still actually, we had time on the clock. 49 minutes and 32 seconds. Guildford gets back underway. Good movement there by a player who's definitely in with a shout. Baisden, he gets a brilliant goal.
That's the one player you didn't want to end up with the ball free.
Exactly, even on this left-hand side, the left-hander was able to convert. With 10 seconds to go, the player of the match chosen by us in the commentary box, Alfie Scanlon, the number 71. Not only his impact in the game, his overall composure, he's going to be a top player. And Guildford Sabres are the champions of the National Cup in the under-16s here in England. A fantastic game. Chelsea played their part. They came back into it, they fell away, they came back into it, they got the lead. But ultimately Guildford Sabres were steady, they were composed, and ultimately deserved champions. They celebrate in front of their fans, of which there seems to be many. Chelsea players dejected in front of us there, Bill, and understandably emotional.
Yeah, I mean, it's great stuff for these winners or losers here. You know, the experience they'll gain from playing in a match like this is invaluable. The key thing now is keeping all these young players in the sport, you know, and you know, and I know Guildford have got plans for the future of the club, and Chelsea, I think they're now a Premier Handball League club.
They are.
And so, you know, there's a good future there. And, you know, win or lose in this final, it's all great experience to take them forward and eventually make them better players when they go up the ranks. You know, both of these could be really formidable at under-19 level next year if they continue.
Yeah, no, which we're looking forward to, of course, and the quality of handball is only going to improve from every single one of these players. Yeah, can't wait for it. This isn't the only game we've got this morning, though, as well. We've obviously got the under-16s females about to come up, haven't we?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that game. That was one of the most competitive events I think England Handball had this year. There was a three-way tie in the under-16s, and it went down to head-to-head results, and I think rightly so. Shropshire and Stroud, well, they should be in the final, but they did edge out my Trafford team by 2 goals on the head-to-head count.
Yeah, so with that little build-up from Bill there, we can look forward to the next game. Of course, this stream is just going to be continuous throughout the day, so you'll see obviously the boys, the women's coming up next, then the under-19s boys and women's as well in the afternoon. We will be staying live for the presentation, which is about to get underway. We're going to give you a very short break from our voices for about 30 seconds before we get into the trophies and the medals, of course, just to give ourselves a little bit of a drink, maybe you guys a chance to go and get a cup of tea, go to the toilet, do whatever you need to do, but be back for a couple of minutes to see Guildford Sabres even crowned champions of England. Back in a sec. the medal you ever want to win, silver, but you have to reflect back on the achievements of the season. To be runners-up in the entire country is not that bad, but these players will obviously want to win when it comes down to it. I'm sure they'll be back. And so hopefully the coaches will be reminding them of how well they've done over the course of this season. Mike Bain giving out the medals here, the CEO of England Handball. And the coaches obviously getting included as well. Just having a look, actually. Guildford Sabres did actually give me a list of information about their players. Alfie Scanlon, apparently nicknamed the Ninja. Quickest feet in the team, dances through defences. Well, I didn't need to read that off there. Could have told you that after that game, to be fair. Chelsea with the big smiles. Maybe some of them slightly forced. But ultimately, as I said, a good season had by them. And hopefully they'll stick around and watch the next game and maybe the rest of the games as well here today in Nottingham. Learn a thing or two from the under-19s. And the senior men's, of course, and the women's next tomorrow if they do choose to come back. If you're wondering whether, if you're tuning in, wondering where the schools competitions are, they're over on a different stream. So look for Court 2 and Court 3, I believe. This is Court 1. We'll be hosting the sort of under-16s, under-19s, and senior finals tomorrow, of course. So the referees getting a shout out to Mark Gordelich and Cesar Castillo. Refereed very well, to be fair. I'm not just saying that because Cesar came over to me earlier and took the mick a little bit of my appreciation of the referees over the course of this season. But that one was very well refereed. The occasion looked like it might boil over every so often for these players, but they managed to just cool things down. Remind players where they are, what they need to do without actually sanctioning too many. Only 1 2-minute suspension, I believe, in the entire game, which is pretty good going in a game as heated as this, with players as inexperienced as this as well. And as John has a chat to a couple of the Chelsea players, he starts to warm up to award our champions their trophy. Guildford Sabres, now this is going to take a while because Guildford Sabres have a full cohort of players. I did just have to count them just to make sure. Yeah, they bought all 16 and filled every single space that's available on their bench. And I'm pretty sure I recognise every one of them getting a little bit of game time. And an award getting given out here that I wasn't briefed on. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but it looks like a little bit of a commemorative plaque. Coach of the season or something, I'm not entirely sure, but Jamie Lau receiving it, whatever it is, from Chelsea. Apparently it was the men's senior coach of the year, I'm being told, by Nick Lamont. Here goes Guildford Sabres to get the moment they worked so hard for. Medals on the chest, trophy in hand. Deserved winners over the course of the 50 minutes, and I'm sure over the course of the season. We haven't seen that much of them on the live streams. We've been focusing on the Premier Handball League, but it's always a pleasure to come and see the young talent coming through, performing so well over the course of the national finals, and every single year the quality only seems to get better. As I said, this is a bit of a long procession here because there are so many players, and it's going to be headed off at the end, of course, by the Guildford Sabres coaching duo, former PE teachers, potentially still PE teachers to be fair, Daniel Scott and Tobias Dunn. A great job they've done, and as we said, heard from Bill earlier, there are plans to separate the senior sort of section of the team, maybe start another team elsewhere, try and get some friendly rivalry and competition, as well as obviously improving the entire region of handball. But a fantastic scene here, all smiles. And we've had the Chelsea players, although they look dejected, some of them have taken off their medals. Second's not good enough, and I can understand that. They wanted the top step. They wanted what Guildford had got. But every team in the country wanted what Guildford have got right now. And that is the trophy, the Under-16 National Cup. I was expecting a big reaction, a lift of the trophy, but actually they're posing for their photos first, doing the media duties. And there we go. The more trophies they win, the bigger that reaction, I'm sure, will become. Maybe feeling a little bit self-conscious. The 34, the captain of Guildford Sabres, Joseph Gumwell, enjoying his time. As I said, slightly muted reaction, I have to say. I thought there'd be more singing, more dancing. But it is what it is. I think I'm just looking around for Ian Waterhouse to see if he's got any of the coaches to have a chat with. But I'm going to sign off here. You can, if you want to hear from the coaches, in fact, there is Ian getting right involved with the team and the players in the green jacket. He's just asking Dan, that is a Daniel Scutt, to come and have a chat with him. And potentially player of the match as well, Scanlon. Yeah, there we go, they're dragging him over. So I'm going to sign off from here. Thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure to be your host for the first game of today. Congratulations to Guildford Sabres, commiserations to Chelsea. Thanks very much to Bill Bailey for helping me out, giving me a lot of information over the junior teams and the junior setups in England. He'll be back for the female under-16s, as will I in the commentary box. My name's been Jack Oliphant, and we look forward to entertaining you for the rest of the day. Here is Ian Waterhouse. As soon as he's ready, he'll be on the mic and on the camera.
Yeah, hello everybody, welcome down here to courtside here for the David Ross Sports Village. I've got a very happy Daniel Scutt, head coach, of course, of Guildford Sabres. You are National Cup champions. How does that sound?
It's amazing. What the boys have achieved in such a short period of time is amazing. We're really, really proud.
That was quite a tight game, wasn't it? You guys raced into a bit of a lead there, didn't you? But Chelsea just wouldn't let you get away, would they? What did you say at the break to inspire Sabres to victory in the second half?
I think it was just about how hard the boys have worked, and it would be a shame to let low energy levels and those sort of things cost you a game. So just keep believing and keep working hard, even if the game becomes tight.
Yeah. And it was tight, very indeed. It went down to the last few minutes. Player of the match, Alfie Scanlon's with us as well. Alfie, how does it feel to be champion?
Oh, it's amazing. You know, all the work, all the travelling as well. Handball's not a very popular sport, you know, so you're travelling 3-4 hours for a tournament up today, 3.5 hours, and just to come home with the trophy today, it just means the world.
And a word on your teammates, they were fantastic, weren't they?
Oh, everyone comes together so perfectly for games, and we just that's why we're the best in the country, you know.
You can't stop smiling, can you? What does this mean for Guildford Sabres going forward?
It's massive, you know. Every year I've come back from almost the beginning of when it started. There's more and more people coming into handball, and I think with everyone winning, with us winning the national handball today, I think that everyone will look up to us and they can think that they can come and do it. Because, you know, if any club in Guildford can do it, why can't they, you know?
Very well said indeed. Daniel, let's come back to you then. And what does it mean for you as coach of Guildford Sabres taking this club forward?
The boys have actually been part of my students because I've actually been their PE teacher for the last 5 years as well. Yeah. So to take them from the school setting, they were lucky enough to win the schools championships last year, and then from a club's perspective to then go even further and win the club's championships. Both me and Toby are exceptionally proud of the boys, both as their teacher and as their coach.
So we'll see you boys at the under-19s in a couple of years then. Go on, go celebrate. You don't want to talk to me, do you? Go celebrate. Thank you so much, guys. Congratulations. Put that down there. Yeah, congratulations, Guildford Sabres. They are the male under-16s National Cup champions. There's still a lot to come, though, throughout the course of the day. We are going to switch our attention now to the female under-16s. It's the two S's, Stroud taking on Shropshire. That will be next. We are going to go to a short break, though, when we come back. Jack will be back with me to preview that game. Thanks for watching, and don't go far.